to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Tanya, can you do roll call, please?
Dave?
Here.
Kevin?
Here.
Russ?
Here.
Carolyn?
Here.
Roll call shows Bob is absent tonight.
Okay, the first thing that I would like is a motion to change the order of our business.
Make a motion, move number 15, off in between number 3 and 6.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to move the item 15 under their bid request blacktop. Oh, no, it's not 15.
Recommendation.
Wait a minute. Wrong group here.
Recommendation for Earth Inc. for 10-year extension.
Got it. Yeah, I have the wrong agenda. Okay, the recommendation for Earth Inc. 10-year extension. There's a motion, let's see, we have a motion second. Is there any discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Dave?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye. Okay, the recommendation for Earth Inc. 10-year extension. We know what the recommendation from the Plan Commission was. I want to go over something briefly here about what our consideration is here is.
Carolyn, should we have the Plan Commission give you their recommendation since we started the new meeting?
Are they here? Any of them here?
Yep.
Oh, Josh, there you are in the back, sorry. Oh, and there's John. Okay, we'd like someone from the Plan Commission to give the recommendation from the Plan Commission.
It is our recommendation, the Plan Commission, that says we wish to recommend to the board to continue with the application for 5 years with another 5 years to be added with a hearing motion, seconded by me. Carried.
Carrie. 3-1, right?
3-1.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, so we know what the Plan Commission recommendation is. We need to, as I said, I had some, here I have what we are going to discuss is the conditional use permit. And we know that we have to have the substantial evidence. I want to read this one more time. Substantial evidence means facts and information other than merely personal preference or speculation directly pertaining to the requirements and conditions an applicant must meet to obtain a conditional use permit, and that reasonable persons would accept in support of a conclusion. Okay, so now, have all of you heard, were you all here for the hearing? Okay. So, do we have a motion to how we want to move forward? Do we have questions? So maybe we need a motion first, and then we can have our discussion. Is there a motion to recommend Earth Inc. for an extension on their application?
For discussion purposes, I make a motion to accept the Plan Commission's recommendation for the 5+5 for earth Stratus pit.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to accept the recommendation for the Earth Inc. 5 and 5 extension on their permit. Now we'll open it for discussion. I have some questions myself here that I wanted to go over. Do we know for sure what the depth? Keel, you were going to see what you could come up with, the depth of where we are right now in the pit?
Yeah, I'm Teal Fixon. I work for Maritime County Conservation Planning and Zoning. And my colleague Lane Loveland and I were on site, and we met with Kevin Williams from Earth. We ran a laser from grade to figure out what the maximum depth was, or what the depth of the pit was. And correct me if I'm wrong, the depth was 62 feet, approximately 60 feet is best we could figure, running a laser from grade down to the deepest portion, which was a small portion on the west part of the pit, which is the sump for stormwater collection. The majority of the pit ran anywhere between 25 and 35 feet deep for the majority of the pit. Deepest portion was about approximately, as best as we could gauge, 62 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Where was the at grade to start? What was the starting point?
We started at the highest grade. That we wanted to get the full depth from the highest grade. So again, looking at the northwest corner from where we measured from, we used a laser to go down, and we measured from the elevation about 1270, and then goes down to 1208, which is exactly what's in the reclamation plan for that. Is the approximate 60 feet.
So where does that lie in conjunction with Niehause's backyard?
Well, that'd be the northwest corner, so that would be approximately northeast of the Niehause's home. I would say probably approximately 300 or more feet from that. Again, this is just approximations based on where we were standing today.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the question. So the grade is like regarded to begin with?
You want to point to the map here?
I'm trying to think here. So the Niehaus property
It's approximately in the.
right. So we were down in this corner right there. So if this is north, this would be east. We were down in this corner here.
So you're someplace up at a scale house?
Just south of
This, yeah, the scale house would be north of the.
This is Galvin here.
Yep.
So that starting location was higher or lower than their,
I'm sorry. What was the question?
that location was higher or lower than what their yard is?
We did not shoot from the Niehause's yard. We shot on site,
I'm just,
where the
I
pit
get
is
you.
located. Right.
Did you look up a hill to see, was
It's
it?
really tough to, I don't wanna get cornered into making an estimation of grade based on my eyeballs, because I do a lot of inspections, I used to do a lot of plumbing inspections, and your eye could be wrong, and I don't wanna be wrong.
What we're trying to show here is your proposed grade here is that starting at 1270, which is up in this area. Okay, so we set up the laser and we went around and down because you have to have turning points for calculation. Okay, so if you look here, the approximate starting is at 1270, and they're proposing a depth of approximate 1,208 feet deep. Okay, so that'd be the elevation is 1208. That comes out to about 62 feet. So, again, the approximate average depth was anywhere from 25 to 35 feet going across that site. And that area is where all the stormwater goes. It's collect all the water.
there to the southeast corner.
at the east side by the yard pump.
Okay, all right.
So in this process, and seeming like a lot of what happened earlier at the first meeting, pros and cons, and was directed at most of the residents that were sitting in the audience. And Plan Commission ultimately was the one that should have been addressed more than everybody who was sitting out there. Because they make the recommendation to us, and then we work on Holly, and we went to 25th is when more than likely everybody in this room is gonna be up in front of you, and the same arguments are gonna happen.
Do we have a time right now yet, or?
9 a.m. 9 a.m. Board of Adjustment, it will be in the county courthouse. It will not be in the usual, correct? Is it the auditorium there?
We got a certified letter today about it.
take forever.
So it is, it's 9 a.m., the 25th, the Marathon County Courthouse Assembly Room, 500 Forest Street.
Yes. Okay. It is not the first one on the docket, but follows closely. I think it's the next one, second.
There's only two.
Yeah. So, okay, the other, I had a couple of other questions. I guess, did we ask the Strats what their goal is? What is your plan? What is your real plan moving forward? What is your plan, Denny, moving forward? What is it, what is your goal here?
Get
For
that
you.
aquaculture going, get my trout, we're gonna plant trout. And that was always my intention the whole time, to get it started. And I have to create this lake to have DeBoer move out and let it fill up, and I'm gonna stock it with trout. That's always been my intention.
Okay,
And we're gonna go forward with that.
It's not big enough now.
well, okay, so, and you can do that in a shorter period of time than your 10 years, if need be, correct?
Well, we're shooting for it, but
Okay.
You know, it's
right,
all-
All right, I just wanna make sure
Okay.
you're on the same page.
you bet.
Okay, all right. Have you ever tested for particle dust? Has that test ever been done?
We test for opacity,
Okay,
Kevin handles that.
do you have that document?
I don't have one with me.
So we can supply it.
Okay. Do you have contracts and bids accepted at this point that you plan to move on right away?
For this quarry,
Mhm.
we're currently doing the PCA job out of this quarry, Marshfield School, recreational field, Swiderski housing development behind Walmart, Oneida Housing Development right to the east of the Swiderski project, Knoll subdivision in Stratford, and PCA building, then the PCA rail project are in motion right now to be finished when the road limits go off, obviously.
When you come out of that pit, where do you go? Which direction?
Loaded trucks go north.
Always?
Not always. But I live south,
Which trucks go south?
for the biggest ones. Also
Are they
Nikolai,
loaded?
also Nikolai.
Are they loaded?
Yes, they are.
There were two
on March
22nd.
I'll take a camera and get some pictures for you, then you'll know.
And recently, we had a local delivery down there, one of the people that live right on Gilbert Avenue.
I know, but there've been a lot of trucks going down that road, I
Did you
know,
have
all
a,
this
did
past
you have a
year
big
toward the
thing
high
in the clinic
school.
or something last
And I
summer?
just wanna make sure, because I think the understanding with the permit was that you would always go north loaded. And I wanna make sure that that is the way it's working.
I thought originally, when the spring tour started, they were supposed to come from the north also. Galvin was not supposed to be run. The first 5 years or so, it was never ran. And every year it gets worse
I
and
know
worse
the
and
original
worse.
deal with Kafka was to all over trucks, gotta go to the north,
To the
but
north.
empty trucks.
Well, I think we should
Go
think about
south.
changing that, we'd make 55 people happy. And right now, we got 55 petitioners signed that are sick.
84, 85.
But let's just say 55 from E or C to 97. Let's at least try making them people happy. And just keep everything to the north.
To the north. So,
So you're gonna have to post Galvin lighter then,
That could be done.
because you got a 16 ton now.
Like some,
What does an empty truck run?
Depends on what size the
Weight
truck.
wise, weight wise. Biggest one to run.
well,
is the run.
we can discuss that.
I'm just
Well,
saying.
Jim's here, what's normal for, what's my question?
It depends if you're hauling a tri-quad or,
I mean, for posting of roads, because that's been a discussion here before, we've got roads that are posted that just say no trucks. But do the townships have the right to legitimately pick a weight and just put a weight on?
By state statute, you have the ability to post your road with sound engineering judgment behind it. You can't post a road and say, my brother-in-law lives down this road and I don't want people going past there. So if you have sound engineering judgment that says your road will fail because of the truck, you can post it according to state statute. But it has to be based on sound engineering judgment. It can't be,
But the
you don't like somebody down that road.
But the only catch to that would be with the conditional use application and the permit being done that all
Correct.
trucks entering and leaving.
Correct, but your question is just posting a road. The only way
Right.
you can post a road would be that way.
But the board can decide. This is your only rural road
Correct.
that if pits on it, them are all on P, they just drive off P, and they get their gravel and they leave on P.
I have witnessed multiple trucks.
Right, I'm just saying, let's just make everyone in this township on Galvin happy again. We can't give them everything. I mean, we're here to compromise.
Right, okay.
Seven
No,
years.
that we can, yeah.
That can be part of the stipulation.
Stipulation, yes.
So I would assume at the county level, you guys have the, if I word this right, the geological aquifer maps as far as, because the water well contamination was a big thing, and from talking to other well drillers, and my understanding how the aquifer runs. But I also know that we're a little bit different in Maritime County with our vast aquifer up in Wausau, Moseley area, and how far north the main part of it runs. I mean, I'd be more concerned when the pit fills back up, or if the aquifer and the underground water runs east to west, which is my understanding, that everybody really downstream, if you're hooked up to that main, unless it's a bigger cavity of water that's underneath that everybody's in.
There, if I may speak, there are some rough aquifer maps for the state that cover Marathon County. I know I've laid eyes on it once or twice. However, I don't think any staff here, are you a hydrogeologist, a licensed hydrologist? None of us are here. The DNR, and I know it sounds like passing the buck, but the DNR is the one who regulates well water. That is out of our purview.
Okay. All right. So we do know that we are, how far from the aquifer, did we say? That north?
From what I was told in the past, that there's a huge aquifer up around Wausau, Moseley, that heads north, all the way up. Whether or not, around here we have individual veins, I think, what's the average of everybody's wells? Ron, yours is, mine's 166 at my house, and
160, 50.
um,
160 and 40 for the long.
yeah.
60 feet,
Yeah,
I got 35 gallons per minute.
right, so I mean, probably you guys have more experience than anybody else here with
Yeah.
the plumbing part, I mean, you can,
85 feet, you can't pump it dry,
Yeah,
can't touch
we,
it.
we can't even mark his,
I
so,
wanna keep it that way.
yeah.
right,
I've got 120 feet and over 3 gallons a minute, and I'm just south of that property.
so I would have to say based on that, just my own opinion, that everybody's in different.
Can I just say something? Dad,
What's that?
how many gallons a minute is your well?
62 gallons a minute. And that's right underneath the quarry.
Based upon some of that, that would tell me, again, this is my opinion, that there's individual veins in this area that.
Oh, yeah, Ryan gets a gallon and a half.
That's 260 plus. After fracking.
So, okay, that was, so, yes,
I
yes.
just want to add just a little bit to my comments about substantial evidence and the whole discussion about well and the groundwater. Okay, and we can provide maps and people can bring in hydrologists. But you remember, we're talking about groundwater in relation to people's wells. And everybody can sit and give their examples, okay? But right now, no one has any evidence of how those wells are constructed.
And that's why I asked when it
Okay,
actually comes
so-
to hearing, if you
so
guys have
I
that.
caution you on anything when it comes to this topic, because you could have a driven point well down 25 feet and X amount of gallons per minute, and I have a 45-foot drilled well, and he has a 150-foot drilled well, and different pumps, there's a whole big spectrum of information that would need to come forward in order to substantiate any conclusion when it comes to the groundwater. So, you're asking good questions, but just remember, it's a really big, it's a bigger issue than just the depth of wells and gallons per second and the flow. It's
Yeah.
complicated.
That's why I asked if you guys have availability for maps to.
We have the maps.
So that being said, they can really affect everybody well that we don't know. We don't wanna find out.
What was there? There was something else. We had bonding in the beginning. What was that about?
Are you asking the question that, did the town have
Yeah,
bonding?
yeah, there was, Donna, how did that go?
I have to look, there was I think the original, people that were digging, was it Copa? Had to bond up money for issues. I'm not exactly sure what they were, I can look in the file, see if I can get it. Let me look.
Okay, these are just some things that, been going through the old records that we've come across that have not been addressed. And I think we need to look at many things here. So, one other thing about, we talked about blasting, and notification. When you notify people that you're going to do that, I do believe that it is in the permit someplace that you need to notify the fire department.
Yes.
Is that done adequately?
We've had another discussion here on, and the last two blasts were an hour before the blasting. They were normally 24 hours. So, I mean, we haven't had another discussion on that.
So we're gonna correct that situation, make sure that doesn't happen again.
Okay, very good. Okay. Any other things to discuss here?
I got a comment. Just run for office once and boy, I'll tell you, there's people knocking at your door. I've been asked to sign petitions for one side, I've been asked to sign petitions for the other side. It was interesting because I managed to come out on top. Probably isn't a good deal the way this is looking, but very interesting. But that's what politics are all about. The other overriding issue, I think, of the township is the impact on our roads. You, the people, voted to cut our budget by $166,000. Now, how are you gonna do it, and how are you gonna address the infrastructure that we're all facing here? I'm gonna try to figure that out. It isn't gonna be easy. People have been knocking on doors and saying, well, we don't have, there are stores closing in Marshfield, and yet we have a lot of projects, according to Mr. DeBoer, that are ongoing. So someplace there's some money. My campaign issue was that we try to all get along, and it ain't been a basket of peaches. Get back to the subject at hand. 19 years is a long time. I'll grant you that. That discussion has been discussed here the last 3 hours. Do I think we should cut it off tomorrow? Absolutely not. However, I think there should be a reasonable time. I may or may not agree with the parameters that the Plan Commission recommended. But I think we're here to accommodate all of us. I know there's a discussion in the corner at the break time that Mr. DeBoer had the contract for County Trunk E, and a lot of that material came out of that pit. In fact, I think all of it did, correct?
Yes.
I think a number of times people have called me up and said, well, it's all those loaded trucks are supposed to go out north and come around. Some of them did, some of them didn't. It depended on what section of County Trunk E was redone. One individual said, well, is the county going to pay for the damage to our roads? I think, Carolyn, you had that question asked to you, correct? And it said it was an emphatic no. So does it impact us? Yes, it does. How are we going to remedy it? At this point in time, I still haven't made up my mind until we call the question. I can definitely say that I wouldn't want to injure it. I've fielded phone calls from a number of individuals, depending on which way the wind was coming from, and the dust problem, and the noise problem, and the truck problem. So, with that being said, right now, I just don't know what I'm gonna do.
And the bridge.
Got a bridge replaced on Stott, yep, and we got impact to the one on Galvin.
When is the current extension over?
19th of April,
This month, this year?
Next year.
Next year.
2020.
If at the time, and again, what we recommend here doesn't really, I mean, it's got some weight, but ultimately it's up to Marathon County, their decision, what's gonna happen up there. If they decide, so you have like a year, can the pit right now be put into its final stages in 1 year to get to that point? So you would still have to have work happening to get the grade done down to what the finish.
Slope into the south.
Can I comment on that? Okay, I would like to
them to explain then in the application? Can they explain to us why they put in that they have deposits for 20 to 50 years? And also, why they put in the application that they've had deposits down to 150 feet? And I also have Gary Sarzinski's soil, which is stamped and is received by Marathon County, where he had stated in there, the depth of the deposit ranges from 40 to 50 feet. So if he stated, and he's the scientist of it, why are we going more than what we need to be? And you can have this copy, I have some. So if they can comment on the application,
When was that?
2005.
That is our application.
Doesn't the previous operators have anything to do with yours, or you're starting off from scratch?
We continue with our own non-metallic mining permit to the county. That's essentially for it.
It's just a rollover.
Well, in your proposal, it says the pre-existing line. I mean, does it include all your pre-existing recommendations and what's in there?
It's a renewal of the last.
Can you please hand it to the board so they can see?
Sure.
This is the, for Pete's thing I have. 2005.
Gary professional soil scientist, star environmental.
So I think, in my opinion, that report, it might be just what's there, maybe not what's going to be mined.
Well, that's what she's saying, because now they're saying 150 feet, that means they're gonna go 150 feet eventually.
And they put in the application 20 to 50 years. So can they explain why they would even put in 20 to 50 years when this is just a 10-year? It seems like this is their okay.
I think that granted, I think they think that amount granted is available, but it's not gonna go.
It was never put in the previous applications. There's a reason why you put it in now.
But those are likely estimates, I'm just guessing. I wasn't around for the first estimate, but I guess
Yes,
they're just
yes.
estimating.
Yes. Just for clarity, and I just looked at it real briefly,
Okay.
but as a part of the requirement to get a reclamation permit, not a conditional use permit, not a special exception permit, but to get a reclamation permit, you need to have a description of what the deposit is. And sometimes it's as simple as a property owner estimating the depth of what the deposit is, okay? And in this case, it fit as an estimate. Somebody made an estimate of what the depth of the deposit is, and they have to do that as part of the reclamation. So, Gary Starzinski is a professional soil scientist. I'm not thinking he did borings down to 50 feet. You know, they have backhoes, and based on, you know, putting together information that would have been in other documents, he came up with an estimate.
As well as the 20 to 30 year could be the 20 to 30 year operational based on normal pull from the pit.
Right, depending upon what the estimates they have.
Till you run out of material, not necessarily meaning that it's going to be running for 20 to 30 years.
20 to 50.
But you just asked them if they could be done in a year, and they said no, and we also asked them if they could be done in 10 years, and they said, that's scared the hell out of me.
In 2009, they said they were halfway done.
And this map was from Kafka. What is this?
Yeah,
This is Kafka.
I think the board should tread on things.
This was the, I mean, this is what the original plan was, and the original permit was granted for this. The plan is not to go outside of that. All they want to do is finish up the edges in the middle. You know, we're not trying to get, because this was the original map when it started, and just we want to complete the project. We want to complete the perimeter, and
that can't be done in a year?
I'm not the bigger.
If you want us to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year round.
That can't be done in 5 years?
Depends on.
Can't be done in 10 years?
I mean, it's not like chopping corn too, you know, you get to a field and you're like, well, this is the acreage, but you get in there and it's thicker than heck, you got cobs on it like that, I mean, you know, Granite, is my understanding, is the same way. The density of the granite affects how much you can take out, and sometimes it takes longer, sometimes you got a
And
one
that
field, 1
same
year.
document was drawn up with his original proposal, which was for 5 to 10 years and done. What
It
happened?
was the wrong estimate.
No, that was
Talk about
Okay,
specific
okay,
evidence.
okay, let's get back on track here. Let's with our
How are
discussion
we
here.
gonna,
What are we?
who else can you talk to? So if Marathon County decides to, if the board takes the recommendation from the plan commission and presents that to Marathon County and they go with 5 years. At some point in the near future, you're gonna have to start reclaiming land, getting the slope grades, that it could be over in 5 years without an extension. Right?
We are sloping some of it already, as we, the areas on the north end that are being finished. It's just that there's a lot of material and the specific gravity of the rock and the density, it yields good, it's good stone. And like everybody in here just said, they want roads, people want to build houses. Every house that's built, there's 400 to 500 ton of aggregate used in a house. That's nationwide statistic. The drywall is made out of aggregate, concrete is 90% aggregate, asphalt on the road is 95% aggregate, 5% oil. The driveway has to be built, stone has to be put under. So aggregate is a necessity. And that everybody uses every day to get to work. And so the rock is there. The rock was actually more dense. Seams weren't in it with loose material that could not be used. It's good, solid material. Like Jim Griesbach said, and it makes good material. So it's, like he just said, you take a combine in a cornfield, the guy says, well, I got 100 bushel of corn. You get out there, it's 250 bushel of corn. Oh God, it can't be done in a day. It's gonna take me a week. No, you know. It's kind of the same thing we have here.
I understand the desire for set dates, and the only thing that can be guaranteed is we're not going wider than the original parameters set in the first permit. That's the only guarantee we can give right now. We gave an estimate that was wrong about how much was there. We thought was there. We gave an estimate that was wrong about how long it was going to take, whoever gave those estimates. And that's why we don't want to give another estimate. All we can do at this point is guarantee that we're not asking to go anywhere outside the original parameters of the initial permit or deeper than the initial permit. You know, we can make another estimate and make you happy, but again, it's an estimate in terms of time, you know.
But if time constraints were put on, because that is the power of the boards to do,
I've got a
it could end
question.
up being a smaller project, and
I've got a
you know,
question.
still get
It'd
original.
still be a tough one.
With what they have right now, the hole they have right now, can they stop mining, start doing the finishing, fill it with water, and do their fish farming?
That question was asked, and it cannot be finished within a year, because of the amount of stuff that is.
Stop the mining and just do the finish work.
Give them 3 years.
That puts an end to it eventually. I mean, you mentioned before about compromise. This is compromise now, because we are giving a lot of this, the neighbors have. And it's time we get some assurances back. We need something. Is that what was to ask? That's the compromise.
That is an end date.
That's right. We need that. We need that security for our own livelihood here. Chris said before, she'd like to see it done. You've got the opportunity right now tonight to end it. You can do that. We can't.
But I want it finished too.
You want it finished. You've got enough water,
Well,
you've got enough pit and water to do it.
Within reason, and I am all for a compromise on this.
And we're not trying, you know, this is how the Struts are trying to make some money before they retire, you know.
And
Okay,
the rest
everyone
of us
thinks
are
around,
trying to
everyone,
make
and I just,
I'm retired
and
too.
I'm not gonna get into numbers, but I think you all would be surprised. Everyone goes to a rock concert, well, how do rock stars go broke? There's all these people here buying tickets, but they don't think that, well, hold on a sec, out of that ticket, someone else gets paid for the venue, the machine, you know, the acoustics. I think everyone maybe has a wrong perception about how much money you actually make running a pit when you take out what it costs for, this isn't Stretz's machinery, this isn't Stretz's workers, you know, it's not their trucks. So there might be a little bit element there too, like, well, how long do you have to operate a pit? I think you all will be surprised at the end of the day.
The
what
original
operating
question
pit
was.
means. So what my answer is
Do
there
you need
also.
that deep, do you need that size to run your fish farm?
No, you could make a fish farm out of a pond.
That's
I mean,
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's, come on.
We just
Pretty
add
simple
it
question.
and just put it to bed, you
All
got a
right.
fish farm. So
We
Denny
need
wants.
to remember that we are a community. We are friends with the Stretts, but this is not anything to do with our friendships at all. We have to have the documentation that we have to make a decision with. Do we have that documentation?
I don't think we need a documentation.
Oh, yes, we do. We need to have some documentation to make us, whatever we're gonna forward to the Board of Adjustment. We do. We have to know. I mean, if they don't meet one single thing in that documentation, you're still gonna say we're gonna compromise and what have you? I mean, I think, am I correct?
Whether the town board approves or denies, you need to justify why you're making that decision.
That's what I'm saying. It can't depend on our friendships and whatever. We have to have the documentation as to why we're making the decision we're making. And that's the law.
But ultimately,
Can I sit down? I can't.
They will, the Board of
Why do you
Adjustment.
say this? I don't know what to do. Kevin, you say what you just told me.
Based on what we found when Sheila and I measured the pond, the water elevation is 1247 after we're all done. Where we think we're at with the floor and the pouring, there'll be 7 feet of water in the pond.
So you are gonna go deeper.
To reach a 1208 elevation, as it was currently permitted, to get the water in the pond to support the fish for Dennis and Chris's aquaculture farm, yeah. Some of those fish need to have that cold water to survive.
We're talking elevation, we're not going deeper than 60 feet. Right now, it sounds like we only get 7 feet of water to fill it in right now.
Because, you know, that where the equipment is sitting there, floor was, there's about another 20 feet to take off of there to get to this 1208 elevation.
Is anybody gonna see this pond besides the Stretsons?
No.
Well,
you're right there.
When it's all done, you
No.
have a nice house
So-
No.
on front of the water, you know.
I was asking because you guys have elevations, I was just curious.
From your house, you're gonna be there.
What's the water level from the top then? The water's pretty flat.
Okay, come on.
So I have a question. Is this
So
gonna be,
you'll be able to
is
see
it gonna
the
be,
water down there.
is it gonna be for commercial trout? Is it gonna be for private use? Is it gonna be for public use?
We plan to have a recreational permit, is what we're going for. So that is fishing for friends, family, and neighbors. That's what we're planning for.
So it isn't,
We're,
to
as far
raise
as,
trout commercially.
unless Dane wants to take more on.
And I don't wanna get into that family thing, but I'm asking at this point in time, is it gonna be a commercial thing which could support a lifestyle?
Well, originally, we were thinking more of a commercial basis, but
Okay.
with my husband's health the way it is, I think recreational is the way we are going to go.
But you know, there's a lot of young Stretz boys coming up too.
Well, I
You know, they
said-
might take it and run with it and saying, yeah, we wanna go commercial with it, so, you know.
That's
Yes,
That's the question.
Good question.
Jimmy, did you already shed on it? Or did you already shed on that?
Whether it's residential, it's still the same rule, same law. Different people accessing.
you know, it's there. And trying their best to get it where, you know, the right end. And I think if as much energy was spent on everybody working together so that you're happy to the end, you know, we would be better off than trying to force people to do what, you know, we can't make them do anyway. So, you know, if there's problems with traffic, if there's problems with blasting or whatever, you know, if any time a blast goes off, there's always going to be, you know, something can happen. That's just part of that business. It's no different than a jet going over O'Hara and doing a sound, you know, breaking the sound barrier and blasting out somebody's ceiling. These things happen just because of the nature of the business. And it certainly sounds like everybody's been trying to, when they do happen, that, you know, they're trying to correct it and make it good for whatever happened. So that, you know, it's just like, that's all you know, it certainly sounds like it's coming to an end. It's just what somebody loves it tomorrow and somebody else wants it in 5 years.
Yes, Dan.
Can I make a comment on the trucks? The trucks always seem to be an issue. Unfortunately, all the commerce in America is basically moved with trucks, whether it be any commodity. And the trucks
those
pay.
trucks go on 50 of those trucks on a town road.
The trucks pay a substantial amount of license and heavy use tax. It's about $2,500 a year plus the 50 cents a gallon of fuel tax they pay every time they fill up. And if you would post, just say you post Galvin for trucks, and all the trucks went around 97 to C, then you have the trucks going on 97, right? But the state road.
I think like what John Bajowski said, there needs to be better communication. If someone sees a truck going the wrong way that's loaded, then there needs to be, okay, what's the truck number, and call Earth and let them know. You know, because, you know, Dan doesn't know I have GPS on these trucks. There's need to be communication. You're seeing trucks, you're calling, truck number, license plate number. That's the only way that remedy gets fixed. You know?
Give us the number for that then, so we know by the end of the night.
Is there a sign coming out of the pit that all loaded trucks are listed, right?
The road's posted 16 tons, and truck drivers, you know, are just like, watch the sign more than anybody. And then another question you have is when you're delivering to somebody down the road in the town.
I think that's, we give, you know, I give permits all the time for that. If somebody, you've got farmers that go on the roads, they have to go that way. And so then, are you gonna tell them no? Heck no. So we just write them out a permit at the time, whatever it is, you know, that they need, that we need to help them. And so this is this business that we need to have something so that people are not unhappy all the time here with what's going on. So whatever it is, we need to come to a conclusion here as to what our feelings are. Our feelings are, what I'm getting from it is that you need to make sure that those trucks go from the pit to the north.
Or signs there, and
I know, but do they, that's why there was an awful lot of traffic on Galvin last year. So, but I don't know, were they loaded or unloaded? I don't know. I just know there was a lot of traffic and we had complaints about it. And it is hard on the roads. But you have to have, you know, you've got your business and you need to make this all work. So how are we going to do that? Now,
does anybody besides your logo on your truck, is there anybody else falling under there?
Out of the pit? Oh my, yes.
Okay, there's part of the perception.
Yeah, we can't control what everybody does.
They're not all driving big orange trucks though. You are.
What's that?
They're not all driving big orange trucks. Nikolai,
Park and gravel.
Well, I think one of the instances that everybody's referring to is.
So my trucks are going unloaded to the south, call the cops.
Not all the time, but I see them going around.
One of the instances that.
They never go south, they do, that's what I'm saying.
One of the instances that everybody's referring to last year is, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Bob. I happened to stop by on my way home, because I was on my way home, and just to make sure, because we just had a board meeting, we talked about it. So I stopped to make sure that his drivers had the permits, and if they didn't know about it, that they needed to do that. I think Gary must have stopped earlier, he drove past to him. So he kinda got beat up the one day over that. I think I stopped by your house, to talk to you about that too. And the sheriff was actually sitting up here, he was here watching, and again, we all live out here, you know, Buck, Paul, you guys can contest to this. How many people go the stop sign? And in the time period that I was just sitting here talking to him, there was a lot of empty dump trucks that were rolling up, and it was not a complete stop. So there's a big hazard with this one, and it's not just dump trucks, it's cars, motorcycles, it's everybody. It's guys on pedal bikes that just blow right through the intersection. And you can't stop that. Jim, highway commissioner, most dangerous job for you guys is flagging. I've had to do it enough that I've had to jump in a ditch probably 4 times in the one day. Because the big orange signs that say flag, one traffic, be prepared to stop, apparently they can't see. They're 4x4, they're really bright. You can't stop stupid. Sorry for that phrase, but you can't. I think if the truck traffic all would come in off the other way, and I know it would beat up E, and we took residents waited long enough to get E redone, but if the truck traffic would come in off of C, I think that would make a lot of people happy.
And just to throw something, we've been doing this for 20 years, let's put it somewhere else just for 10. That sounds like a heck of a compromise, just to make, we can deal with Ryan later, but just, we need to, there's 55 people, we got signatures where, like I said, that are just, we had enough of it. Let's give them a peace of mind, they come home at 5 o'clock and you sit down on their deck and by golly, 6:15 come and it's freaking Bristol, baby. Because they gotta get to that pit before 6:30.
Yes, sir, there was a comment in the back.
Yeah, I just moved to the area 2 years ago, and I'm the one that built the shop, and a lot of truck traffic coming down by me too. It's a double-edged sword, because anytime you want to get something, you know, I ordered something from Northern Tool that was 900 pounds. It was delivered by an 18-wheeler, and he called me last Monday and says, hey, I can't come down the road. You know, so if you're ordering stuff or buying stuff, you know, which a lot of people are buying stuff on the internet nowadays, it's gonna cause problems for people when they buy stuff too. So even though I live on Galvin and you know, I did sign against renewing the permit, you know, I was kind of on the fence. And, you know, if we choose to force the trucks to not travel Galvin, it's not just the dump trucks. It's delivery trucks at any time.
But I would think in a situation like that, would the resident be able to call the chair
Well,
just to get the
didn't you
permission?
call me for a permit?
Yeah.
Okay.
For
and-
everything
and-
but this recent issue.
Yes, and you got it, for
Yeah.
that truck to bring your stuff in.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about, because that's the way it works.
But I also think in his situation, the way our ordinance is written, they still should have went north, came around and brought the shortest route off of a county highway.
He lives
through the area. I know, that was,
Well, his permit was it coming from 97, and he's in that first portion of.
right, but your trucks, when they were delivering for you, were coming straight out of the pit and heading straight down.
They were coming from the strip.
Right, they were taking the shortest route instead of the shortest route off the highway.
Okay, yeah, well.
And plus Highway E does have a bike route. If people are riding bikes out here, there is nothing.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not saying that they all go on each, a lot of them.
So I'm gonna try and make a motion.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept the plan commission's recommendation of 5 and 5 with the stipulation of all truck traffic coming in off Highway C with the sloping starting within 2 years, that's the reclaiming of the land. Because of the possibility of being closed within the first 5 years, of it being done within the first 5 years. But I would also like this revisited in 3 years, just to see where we're sitting.
Kevin, can you back up just a little bit?
You didn't get that?
No. I don't even taking notes for 3.5 hours. Okay. Right, so to accept the plan commission's recommendation of a 5-year extension of a 5-year extension with a 5-year hearing. I don't want to put a 5 and 5. I prefer not to put a 5 and 5. So 3.
That's, you revisit in 5 years, is what you're saying, and then.
Well, I'd like it revisited in 3 years, but within the first 2 years, some re-sloping starting. Reclaiming of some of the
As a percentage?
Yeah, you gotta give them a number, they'll chip one rock out and say, yeah.
Yeah, they're not gonna, nobody's going to.
They're doing that.
I rescind started my motion. Hang on.
Yes, Becky.
I just caution you on doing anything in your motion that has anything to do with reclamation of that pit. The county has jurisdiction on the reclamation of the pit, which is stipulated by statute 295, and it pushes zoning right out of the picture in terms of reclamation.
So how would they concern the boards for the public safety part? Bring the houses back?
Public safety is something you can say about the pit. Okay. Fencing, gating, lighting, warning signs, you can do all of that in terms of the conditional use permit. But when you start talking about reshaping and reclaiming the permit, you cannot do that through zoning anymore. It has to be through the reclamation ordinance, which doesn't come to you.
You should look out your
And then the other thing and then the other thing too is that when you said the 5 for 5 and
Tanya.
clerk was trying to get the clarity on it, that's one of the confusions we had with the original permit and when it was expiring and that type of thing. So if you say 5 and 5, what does that mean? Does that mean an extension that they would come for a new conditional use permit? When you say or have a hearing, well then it's a new conditional use permit.
Yeah.
So if you want to give it for
Keep
5
it
years,
clean.
keep it as clean as you can.
5 years.
You can express in a public meeting your desire to have it reclaimed sooner, or they need to start reclamation. You can say all that, but I don't want to stand up at the public hearing and say, you can say it all you want, but the Board of Adjustment can't do anything with it. That's why I'm telling it to you tonight.
Carolyn?
So why don't we make a motion?
How about as far as the road though?
Yes, Jim.
I know there's some concerns about the road. And excuse me, I lived here my whole life out in this area. And when I'm in this area, I get screwed up on directions, so excuse me if I get my directions wrong. But you could also consider posting your roads Class B. What Class B will do is they'll only go 60% of loads. I'm sure Dan's not gonna have them haul 60%, but they can still bring in loads 100% if they have a pickup or delivery to your location. So if this gentleman has a full-size semi coming to his house, he could come down that road because he has a pickup or delivery. So if you would post your roads, starting at right out in front here, each direction, south, east, and west, they could not leave that pit, and once they get to this corner, they'd be kind of stuck, okay? So they couldn't go any farther if you posted your roads Class B. But if there was a delivery on that road, they could still go ahead, because that's what Class B posting does, is 60% of your legal load, unless you have a pickup or delivery on that road. So,
But how do you police that?
Yeah, but they got a 16-ton on this road. Jim, so if you put Class B, that increases it to 60% of 73,000 for a quad, or 60% of 80,000, which is 48,000, you're increasing it to 24 ton.
Yeah, well, is this road?
16 ton from 97 to the pit. That's why the trucks come up empty. That's why the dump trucks use Galvin empty. They go to the pit, they go all loaded.
I'm trying to figure how to keep the trucks when you have delivery on there.
Well, I think that's
We
an
don't
internal,
have- we
that's an
really don't
internal
have-
for us.
We don't really have a problem with that because we accommodate our residents as much as we can with it.
And as far as enforcement, I just would keep, I know they're limited and there's only one person from each shift trained in weight enforcement, but I would just keep contacting the sheriff's department. They do have somebody on each shift for weight enforcement.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna try and do one. Motion to recommend. Motion for recommendation of 5 years with stipulation of all truck traffic coming in off Highway C, full or empty, and revisit in 3 years.
Okay, to accept the plan commission recommendation of a 5-year extension with the stipulation of all what?
Truck traffic
Okay?
coming in off Highway C. And revisit in 3 years. For an update.
But that's what's revisit.
That's for
Party
another.
or what? I just make it 5 years.
Just recommend
If you make it
5
three-
years.
If you say 3, then you could make it 3 years, but that's what the council said over here. You can't put little, well, you know, if you wanna talk about it for as far as, you know, things that we can deal with, you know, safety of things like that in 3 years, that's
So
fine.
we could take the revisit in 3 years off, but we can have it as an agenda item every year on an anniversary date if we want for an update. Right?
For an update, yeah, but I mean, you know, to.
That'll be up to,
For
that'll
them
be
to,
up to the
for
board.
them to recertify and get it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would be an option instead of.
Yeah, but you don't need that in here, I
Right.
don't think, so recommend 5.
That would give the
Residents,
the owner, that would give the operator, and that would give the residents, say, okay, we're watching it, right?
a yearly meeting for.
To see how everything's going.
That would be an update, that would be an update, how far you going, how much material is moved, it depends on the economy, I'm sure,
But what
how many bids
happens-
you get.
But what happens at these yearly meetings if it's not getting any better?
Then when you get to the end of the 5 years, then it could just be done.
Or they'll
It
renew
would be up to the,
So what's your
it
point?
would be up to the board at 5 years point.
Did your motion just say 3 years?
I took that off.
You changed it to 5.
The original motion is motion to accept plan commission's recommendation of 5 years with the stipulation of all truck traffic comes in off Highway C. Period. And then it's up to the future boards, who's ever on it. Some of you young guys, Paul, you need to run it.
Yeah.
And if the parties involved and the neighbors would like to have a meeting, whatever, official, unofficial, air grievances, anything else, truck traffic, anything on a yearly basis, or if there's trucks running, you can call Earth and.
How do I police every truck that goes up the road? But an empty truck goes up the road, somebody calls, guy goes right by the struts for it, turns on scene, and heads somewhere else.
I got cameras up now.
So would a sign in the pit, Chris, would a sign in the pit work that when you leave, you must turn right and all
We have a
incoming
sign,
trucks?
we have a sign here that says all truck traffic must turn right, all loader trucks must
But
turn right.
if
We
the
do have a sign
stipulation
here.
is that the empty trucks coming off, is see also a sign on the incoming part that Even if you're empty, you are supposed to be coming from the north.
Yep, I have to get another sign. I mean, it's gonna take a while to get this, you know, for people
Go in
to.
one way. You're gonna have to post it like that, that's the way it's gonna work.
Well, that would,
I don't know how you can get it. Just not everybody that we do this is
You've got 16 ton, and that's where isn't that what they are? Yeah.
No, they can run a little bit.
I mean, they're coming back.
I think that's
No,
what's
I was wrong. I'm saying coming back empty is what I meant to the pit. There, how much is that? Is that? Yeah.
Kevin, in order to finish this,
$27,000
are you recommending
dollars.
any kind of safety, is the board recommending any kind of safety?
That could be another motion.
No, it should go all in the one. You want another one?
Well, nobody's addressed the fencing and the child thing, the safety.
Well, then you just need to get it on here.
Well, that's Kevin's.
So,
It
it's
was
always
a
been.
legitimate concern that somebody expressed, and I, for one, and when we retiring out of that fire department this year, I never want to be caught called to one of those. Or any other 97 Galvin out in that corner.
Do we want to finish Kevin's motion and then you can make another one?
Okay, can.
I'll second that for discussion, if there's any further discussion.
We,
Well, no, wait, we haven't had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion was to accept the plan commission's recommendation of 5 years with stipulation of all truck traffic coming off Highway C.
okay.
Come and go till Highway C.
Okay, that's, thank you. So come and leave
everything to the north.
to the north.
From the north to the north.
Mhm.
All the way up to the cabin.
Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded. Is to recommend 5 years, all truck traffic coming in and off of C, truck traffic. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
What's gonna happen if all the complaints are the same again, as they were in 2000, as they are now?
It'll have to.
Because how are they different?
If
Other than their
if
more
a public
substantial-
safety complaint, as far as any of this stuff really comes, because I think that ultimately would go back to Marathon County, wouldn't it? You guys have the right to cease and desist operations or to stop the permit at any point?
So we just have to wait until somebody gets hurt? Isn't it?
As a parent, I understand everybody's concerned with kids. Carolyn, you and I had this discussion about Mama K's. One of your arguments or concerns was people going in there, and it's no different. To me, that's no different if my kids were to trespass across their land and go fishing in their pond and fall in.
We're specifically asked to walk inside when they're gonna blast. We stop what we're doing so that they can blast.
For 20 years.
For safety.
We have
That's-
had rocks.
If I came here up and said that you.
The complaints that are out there are exactly the same as they were 19 years ago. And
Now
they're the same complaints. And it did end it. Except that we've all lived through them. We've all suffered through them. Our complaints are all the same. They're gonna be the exact same in 5 years. They're gonna be the same in 10 years. They're gonna be the same in 50 years. I'll be dead.
I think his point is that when Mr. McGivern did his memo back in 2000, he talked about the concerns that were expressed. And those concerns are now a reality, and they've been a reality for 20 years. How long is enough? 20 years. They have kids that won't know anything other than having a pit in their backyard.
They won't live there anymore. They'll be moved out.
You heard enough people talk about they can't go biking or walking down the street. because of the trucks coming through.
I haven't.
But that's not just trucks. I mean, I'm not for or against anything, I'm just, I will make an argument point about public
But
safety part
I'm
and
just
general
wondering,
life.
maybe one of the things that you need to add is the time that it runs, instead of having it operate for 12 hours a day, have it operate less.
All right, then when we come back and say we're not getting as much power, they'll need more time, then all that work.
What is normal operation hours?
6:30 to 6:30, Friday.
When does
6:30 to noon on Saturday.
And when does the equipment start running in the morning, so you can start producing at 6:30?
10 after.
Becky,
Did you all receive the basis of determination form that I talked about earlier in the meeting, that the planning commission had?
Yep.
I would recommend that you kind of focus on the items that are on there. Because that's what the board of adjustment will be looking at.
Dan, what are you doing in some of your other pits? Do you have anything else that has houses close to operation other than your actual backyard?
Oh, let's see.
Is the fence unreasonable?
What?
Is the fence unreasonable around?
How long, what are you talking, how long is their property line right there? 400, what is that, 620 feet there.
okay, here's your basis of determination. They said, they gave this out, I hadn't seen this. So, conformance with requirements. The applicant shall be required to establish by clear and convincing evidence that the applicable standards of this chapter, the specific standards pertinent to each conditional use, including site plan review criteria set forth for applicable site development standards for specific uses set forth elsewhere in the chapter. General standards. The Board of Adjustment, this is for the Board of Adjustment, this is what they're going, we need to complete this, we need to give them this information. Compatibility with adjacent uses. Okay, the proposed conditional use shall be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained to be compatible with uses on surrounding land. The site design shall minimize the impact of site activity on surrounding properties. In determining whether this requirement has been met, consideration shall be given to, now A, the location and screening of vehicular circulation and parking areas, the location and screening of outdoor storage, outdoor activities, the hours of operation of the proposed use. Approval of a conditional use may be conditioned upon operation within specified hours, considered appropriate to ensure minimal impact on the surrounding uses. The bulk, placement, and materials of construction of the proposed use in relation to surrounding uses.
Okay, so before you go to the next one, I'm just recommending, you've been kind of around some of those issues.
Yes.
If you have a recommendation you want to make to the Board of Adjustment in regards to some of the things that were just mentioned, like hours of operation, something like that, then
this is where you put them down.
This is where you could just jot them down. So I presented this again to you just to help you focus on potential conditions that you might put on there that are what the Board of Adjustment would potentially consider as they're making a decision.
So most cities have a noise ordinance at 9 o'clock, and most construction in cities, and we're not a city, but most rural areas don't have noise ordinances areas, but a lot of it is 6 to 10 or 6 to 7 for.
6 a.m.?
That's what they normally, that's start time. city summer.
Well, we
hours
do
is
have
6:30 to
something in
6.
our ordinances about times,
Right.
so do we want hours of operation addressed? It's 6:30 AM to 6:30 PM.
The hours of operation, I'm up at 6.
It's no problem.
Not that, at that time, no, I go to work. You have to ask my wife, not just me, there's more than me living there.
So that isn't one biggie. Okay.
The sooner it gets done, the better.
Right, that's ultimately what we want. We
Okay.
just want it
I would
done.
like to suggest something, and this is because of my children. They have the pump running, and which is, you need the pump to get the water, I totally get that. But it goes on at nighttime, and if we try to open up a window, you can hear it. Can we put like a building around or something, just to reduce the noise a little
There's
bit?
supposed to be a building
That was in
around.
the original contract, that it should be in a house.
And in the contract, in the original contract, there's supposed to be a fence around them.
Also, yes.
That's in the original contract too. And it's a renewing contract, so all that should be applied right now.
I have all the information.
Well, we have a berm around the pit and boulders. I have grandchildren, I have kids at my house all the time. We don't go near that edge. Kids have to know, and kids need to stay off the berm. The berm is there for a reason. It ultimately is. We're gonna be putting some no trespassing signs up on there, just as a reminder that, I know kids like to go on four-wheelers and kids like to play, but kids have to know. And I think that comes from the parents. The parents have to say, absolutely, under no circumstances are you to go near there at all. And that is just final. My grandsons, I don't have a problem with that. And we put rock boulders around,
It was in the original contract, and it was just a specified quote on the board. They had their own, the original board had additional criteria that they had, and that was one. They had the safety.
There was to be a fence.
And a
I
gate.
have a question about that.
Yeah, if I remember that clause, I'm just going off memory, but basically they're saying that Kafka assumes the liability if there is no fence. So it wasn't there shall be a fence, it's that Kafka Granite shall install a fence or basically assume liability if someone does get hurt.
So who does the liability go to then if someone does get hurt and the child passed out? Is it the townships then?
That's another issue. The issue we're talking about right now is if the fence goes up or doesn't. So what I'm saying is the term says, it doesn't say there shall be a fence erected. I gotta find it, and I just looked at it briefly.
Okay, so we're gonna.
Okay, so, and actually, under the original permit, one of the special conditions, proposal paragraph 9, safety. Kafka Granite LLC will install usual and standard safety mechanisms to the construction area. Temporary fencing within the confines of the pit area and gating of the entrance/exit points will be their responsibility and liability. And in terms of the pump, pumping is mutually agreed will be monitored for noise levels, and if determined to be excessive, the pump will be housed. That was in the 2000 permit.
So was it excessive?
So you can put
I can hear it. and I don't-
four-sided house over the pumping. Noise, but if it's still down in the pit, you're gonna have an echo here, which will help.
I don't know what kind of,
It'll help. It's still down in the pit.
Construct a little building around the pump.
So are you stating
Now,
that you
pump
want
house,
them to
yes.
comply with the original contract? Is that part of your motion?
That's the tough part, because we have two lawyers here that vice versa, you would argue back on the same side that the fact that Kaufman was the original person on the contract and somebody else is taking over the contracts.
No, that's not my
no, actually, the
No, that
permit
isn't
goes
what he's
with the
saying.
property, and the Stratzes are still liable under that permit as
Yes,
well.
Becky?
Unfortunately, when I look at the permit that was approved and the letter of approval from 2009, there's no reference to the original conditions in the 2000 permit.
So therefore, that's all null and void.
Legally, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, and we could probably do more research to see, but I'm holding on to the official approval letter, and there's no reference back to the other one. So what we could commit, which might help this situation, is we've sat here and listened to the concerns, and if you would like the Board of Adjustment to address some of these concerns, because you already have a motion on the table for the 5-year extension, that we could analyze both the 2000 permit and what the requirements were in there, and then the requirements of the 2009 permit, and then also identify those other items that came up and have the board address those when they have the public hearing on the 25th.
So the 2009 permit is technically different than the original one because it wasn't necessarily the extension granted, it was a whole different.
Ideally, right on here, it would say that it's incorporating the conditions of the permit issued on 2000, and it doesn't do that. And I would have to say this, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I'm gonna say it, you know, we can leave it up to the attorneys to figure that out, okay? But,
No, we're not going
okay, that's exactly right. So the point would be, I can see that there is potentially, and this just came to my attention right now because they're talking about all these conditions that haven't been met, and it's not in the approval. It's not in the approval for the extension of the one we're talking about tonight. Okay, so with that said, we would be preparing information for the Board of Adjustment anyway, and this would include a checklist of issues that came up at this hearing that need to be addressed. And that would be, if that's in the end what we decide to do.
So do we write that down here now?
At this point, I don't,
No,
it's too
no,
fragmented.
just go ahead with the motion. And
It's
that'll
really
have
your
to be
choice.
addressed.
Right.
Okay.
Why can't we just say after 5 years, it's a fish pond? Is that too simple?
I think the motion doesn't show an extension. You took that out. You had a 5-year extension, and that was really good.
He did do that, yeah.
Yeah, he went for 5 years.
5 years, that's it.
5 years.
And they can't ask for an extension. It's 5 years and we're done. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, yes, definitely.
Everyone has the right to apply for any permit they want to apply for. We cannot stop somebody from applying for a permit. You can put this permit up for 5 years. That means in 5 years, if they want to
Come back and
continue, they have
reapply.
to come back and reapply. You cannot stop them from applying.
Which
for a
would
permit.
basically be 4 years.
Right.
Years from now.
Well, in their best interest, because in 5 years, they'd have to stop operating.
Right.
If they don't have a permit, they have to stop operating until they get a permit.
When I think under their permit, the last year is supposed to, no more blasting, no more anything, right?
Right, yeah.
Just taking out of the pivots there.
It's never ending.
So do we have, is there 2 years left on this permit that we're in right now, or do we start with 5 years right now?
That's to be decided by the Board of Adjustment.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, and seconded to recommend 5 years extension. All truck traffic coming in and off of C. Truck traffic comes in and off of C. Is there anything to add to that motion?
Not going to add to the motion, but for future board reference, anything else, it would be nice to see if there was one person on the board that would be more the liaison, the middle person. Concerns can come to them and then they can contact Stretzes or, I mean, by all means, if you guys have concern, your neighbor's family, whatever, you should be talking with each other, but if there's a hot topic issue, then it should go to a board person first and then be the liaison back and forth. But that's,
That's something else.
Yeah,
We
that's
have the
something
motion, any further discussion on the motion?
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Russ,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye. Okay, we do have other things to address here. With our comprehensive plan, Becky, were you able to, are you gonna work with somebody on the comprehensive plan?
Oh, we'll circle back.
Okay, okay. The rest of these I don't have to go through. Okay, we're gonna recess for 5 minutes. Get out of here tonight.
Good, how are you? What's that?
Way past your bedtime,
Sorry, I should assume you were.
No, that's my other sister. I'm the baby, the big baby. That's okay. Enjoy I don't know.
Do a good job. It'll be like about a week.
lot of my friends better try to get them out in
Let's resume our meeting here. Okay, let's get, because I knew he was coming in. Then they give people more,
Because that's what we're speaking over here. Here, she's
Heidi. Is it, Heidi, is this your neighbor? I think you may want to be seeing. Okay, let's resume here quickly. Okay, all right. I think we've heard all the public comment we want. Right? So, anyway.
What does anybody have?
Does anybody have any? Okay. Okay, approval of town board meeting minutes for March 11th.
Motion to approve March 11, 2018 town board.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the town board meeting minutes March 11th. Is there any discussion, any changes, any corrections?
Let it be noted that that meeting was 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Good job, Dave. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, we can vote.
Dave?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Carolyn?
And I will abstain. I wasn't here. Okay.
Motion to finally approve December 28, 2018 minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, the meeting, I started to read the top line. A motion
Oh, I
to,
can't vote, I'll be gone.
You were gone.
yeah, right.
Got any motion?
Motion,
Second the motion for the December
For these
28th.
minutes, second.
I thought the rest of
You can't.
I was gone.
Oh.
he was
second-
gone,
second.
so he didn't, okay. All right, the motion has been made and seconded to approve the special town board minutes Friday, December 28th. Any discussion? Okay? Oh,
Dave?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Russ?
Abstain.
absent.
You all
Absent. Okay, aye. Okay, very good. Okay, our reports. Well, we've heard plenty from Josh Troutman. I think we can move to the next one. Rob Bauer, just left, but he gave us all his report.
I'll read it quick. Call numbers: fire 0, EMS calls 1, motor vehicle accident 0, mutual aid 1, false alarms 0, cancel en route 1. New hirees, we have 2 people going through.
Yeah. Just like enrooted.
Yes.
Okay, 2 people.
We have 2 people, TWO, going through the hiring process, classes. Kim Kilty took ICS 300. This was a 2-day class in Wausau. Other, as spring rolls around, I would like to remind everyone that a burning permit is required for anything larger than 36-inch camp fire. To get a permit, call McMillan Fire Department at the 4 numbers. DNR equipment has arrived and final paperwork will be submitted after the checks are approved tonight.
Okay, so just one comment on that, and this is not a surprise to Rod, but I know nothing of 2 new hires. And we continue to have people sign on with the fire department, continue to get the calls, and they do not have employee paperwork completed.
So what was the, I already heard about this, so what is the solution that you arrived at with Rod?
I told Rod that he and I needed to agree on the roster, and that, and he confirmed that we do need to agree on it, and that he would take anybody off of the alert system if they did not have paperwork completed. So these 2 new hires, that's something new for me. I'm not aware of any new hires for the fire department.
So you have nothing on them?
Nothing on them, and I've spoken with Rod and Alicia twice in the last week or 2.
Do they say hires or do they say applications?
In the process.
Going through
So they're going through the process, that may
So
be
they
it,
apply.
so they maybe have not been voted on yet. And if that's the case, when
And your other issue was
Just
no
know that I
paperwork?
have a tremendous amount, and I'm sorry I'm tired, but it's taken me a long time to do payroll because I don't get the forms that I need.
No forms, no pay.
Right.
But it's not that clear cut. Yes, no forms, no pay, but we still owe the money to the state on behalf of the employee because they worked for us. It's just not that we just don't pay them. So I have to figure out a social security number and remit it to the state. We don't get to keep the money.
I guess I'm lost
Called
on that.
unpaid
How do we owe the
wages.
state if they don't get?
It's unclaimed wages. If we have people working for us, we owe the people the money. So we have to remit unclaimed wages to the state of Wisconsin.
you have to pay them.
You have to pay them. And we're liable.
That's the other problem.
We are liable. If they are not on, and I've told Rod this, if one of his employees gets hurt and they are not on my payroll, I'm not going to justify that they were an employee.
Correct.
I've told him that. So I'm not, please know, if Rod was here, we would be discussing the same thing. He is on board with, we are very collaborative, but I'm not aware of 2 new hires.
Going through the hiring process.
Do you
So
have,
later.
what are the papers? Well,
Alicia has all the papers.
well, the thing is we don't even know if they've been hired.
They may be interviewing.
Correct.
They may
I'm
be
just
interviewing.
bringing that to the board because I told him I was going to bring that to you guys. So he's aware I'm going to bring that to you. But I still have several people that I can't pay and it's been 6 months. So. I'm not kidding you.
Okay.
Okay. Training, this month's training, the department will be reviewing how to apply foam, EMS, new EMT and EMR protocols for medical director. And that's the report. Did we get rid of the other equipment? Did we find out if the fire department on the island is?
I didn't hear anything.
Okay. Seeing no problem.
What? What was your question? Or what was
The
your...
equipment that we had, the tanks and breathers, last month we talked about.
No, I wasn't.
So,
I didn't hear anything at the last meeting.
no, the fire department on the island that burnt down, Madeline, with our old equipment, because we have new breathers and tanks and everything.
Yeah?
If they,
The old stuff?
yeah, And I would rather sell it and get something for it, but if the fire department lost everything, I have no problem.
No, I think he did sell them. I think he just, yeah, he asked me if he said, what was the board's stance? And I said, we told you just to get rid of them any way you had to. And he said, well, this guy has offered us $100, and I said, take it then. And so he was working with him, so there's that. Now, I don't know about the machine. That's the breather stuff,
Yeah, breathe.
the old stuff.
I think the old fire engine went down to
It, maybe, yeah. So it is, I think you're about to get that completed. Okay.
One question. On that SCBA's, if he sold that to somebody, did he get a signed signature that they assume full responsibility?
I would hope so.
Because if they're outdated, they can't be used for fire, and if somebody takes it to fire, it's your ass.
I'm gonna write it right here so I know to ask him.
There was, he told us there was some that were outdated and they were gonna be destroyed and the rest they were gonna sell. But they weren't outdated.
But you should still get somebody's signed statement that they full, assume responsibility even though they're
Sure. Signed
they use
statement.
them to say, well, we didn't know they were broke or something.
Apparently, it's up by winter or something. Anyway, all of those people need everything. Okay. I'll pass this on to him. Okay, Ruth is not here. Garbage and ordinances. The ordinances I have taken to all the books, I've taken to the lawyer that's starting to work on them. And that garbage, for some reason, the garbage keeps missing Darnell Leffel over there on Man. Every month I get a call from him, and I have to call him up and tell him to come back. So.
You get it out early enough?
I don't know what to do.
They were 4:45 o'clock, they're gonna move it.
I'll go over that
Be on
with
the
him
wrong side
again.
of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing says 6 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't say 4:30.
They've been
Well,
early.
it says pickup is supposed to come at that, so they're supposed to, we told them, get them out there by 5. Get them out there the night before. Then you're safe.
I did call them last week. They must have had a new guy picking up the recyclables. 3 of them, just that I could see from my house. He took off before he ever released the clamps and tipped the dang things over.
Oh, God. Okay. All right, Highway Dave.
Permission, and I want to make this in a formal motion that we put out bids for granite base course dust control, dust inhibitor, crack filling and crushed and recycled blacktop. As we have in other years, and see how far we get.
Is there a second?
Can you repeat what are those things?
I would like permission from the board, I'd make a motion to ask permission from the board to put out bids for the following items: granite, base course, dust inhibitor, crack filling, crushed recycled blacktop. And all the quantities and the specs can be gotten from the clerk.
Okay, and this is, in addition to the motion we have the prior month for the black topping.
Correct.
Got it, okay.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion been made and seconded to put out bids for granite, base course, dust control, crack sealing, crushed blacktop.
We have certain amounts that we're looking for, or as needed?
As needed.
So those have to be stipulated in the bid that as needed delivered to.
Any place that's all in there.
Like by the pound, by the ton, or whatever.
Correct, yep.
So we're basically using the same
Format that we had here, yep.
Okay, and you want these sealed bids to be ready
Yes,
at
yes.
Yes.
the
and
next
open
board
it.
meeting.
Correct.
I think, just to add Dave's, I think the oil bids for most blacktop places were opened up this week. I don't know, we talked about putting the one out for bid, but I don't know if anything came in yet. Cause I think a lot of the oil bids are gonna be opened up this past week.
Yep.
Okay, is there any
We
discussion?
need a second. We need a second.
I did second.
Kevin, second. All right, Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Russ, Carolyn.
Aye.
You know, the other thing I noticed is if the weather continues like it did in the past, we're having a lot of sinkholes, a lot of problems. I had one person approach me tonight about a short road that we have to address. That being said, you know, the weight limits are on, so we're gonna try to enforce them. Otherwise, it's a losing battle.
Anything for town hall maintenance, Kevin?
No, I need to talk to Tom.
Okay. Newsletter, Russ? Good job.
Why not?
You went out. Good job. Okay. Buildings and grounds, Bob's not here.
We did have a problem with one of the tanks, the one that we repaired, keeps filling up with water. I heard that from Pat.
It's the holding tank next to the town hall.
We did have the alarm going off this afternoon in the garage. And I did give Pat a call about that.
Yep.
So, and we did have this alarm going off this month, right before the election, so I called to have that.
We addressed those in the last couple of years, all dug up and resealed.
That's a brand new one here.
That's what it been, it's up real high as you get into it, you know, going it over the top.
This one possibly could have had a leak in it, but we
That's
had.
not, they fixed it, didn't they?
Well,
No,
it's
I-
new,
it's-
it's brand new.
It is just a 2,000 gallon tank.
But that was there, not people's moving tanks, people,
That hasn't been pumped since you put that in, has it?
Yes, it has.
Has
This
it?
one?
Yes. Yes, I just had it pumped.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, but
That was
was-
my,
that was the first time.
But that's the first,
time,
that's,
yes, because I
so that's been
couldn't
way
find
over a year.
Yeah.
Well, it's a slow leak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been way over a year.
Okay. Clerk report, Tanya.
I don't really have anything other than to talk about the financial reports in the packet. Well, first of all, I sent each one of you a detailed budget right after the last board meeting, and I only got feedback from Bob that he liked it and he wanted me to present it at the May meeting when he was back in town. Nobody else commented on it. So I gave you exactly what you asked for, so if you have any feedback on that, I'd be happy to take it. Thank you. The next thing I would just comment on, and when Donna presents the treasurer's report, there has been some feedback that I'm not providing you with what I need to. My clerk report is right down here at the bottom of Donna's treasurer's report. It gives the ins, it gives the outs, it gives everything, and this is the report that Donna and I use to balance, and this is what's been used for years. So I just want to make sure if there's something different that you guys let me know, but that really is the financial report, the treasurer's report, but it's the clerk's too. And then there is a check and deposit listing report that that is next. And that lists all of the activity for the month of March. So you can see any voids, any checks that were issued, any funds transfers. You will see check number 16269 at the bottom of that report, Country Wireless. That was a question I think that Bob has been asking about, so I canceled that before the last board meeting. And then Donna called and confirmed that we did not owe any money, so we did void that check and she did not mail that out. And then the other report is just the activity since the last board meeting. So that's why you have two separate reports. One is for the prior month and one is for activity since the board meeting.
So
And
do
then,
we need the prior month all the time?
Okay, so do you want the report for like March or April, March, because that's the only thing we can balance. The only way that I have to balance is at the end of the month, so you automatically get a regurgitation for the month prior of. That's why you need it.
and I just supply you the activity from the last board meeting to this one. So you see the checks that were cut tonight, as well as if there are any void checks or any of the payroll checks that you guys don't necessarily see, you'll see those on that report. Okay. And then just from normal stuff going on in my office, it's been a very busy month with a lot of records requests. We had the election that went, the whole process went really well. So just a lot of activity and a lot of work, I guess, in the last 30 days. So I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the clerk's report?
I'll move that we accept the clerk's report as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the clerk's report as presented. Any discussion? All in favor say, oops, no, let's do roll call. I was trying to speed this up.
Dave?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye. Treasurer financial report time.
Okay, we do have a balance between Connie and myself for the checking account. Last month, Kevin made a motion that we could move $50,000 to pay the bills. Well, the library one was postponed until this month, so we didn't need that. So I just held it. I still have a motion for $50,000, so now it's gonna come through for this particular month in April. So I'm gonna move that one as a 50, and I'm requesting another $20,000 to make the bills that are going to be presented to you tonight, so that those can be covered. So I need a motion to move $20,000 out of that tax account, in addition to the 50. There'll be two separate moves.
I was looking for the 50, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I didn't do it, because we didn't need it, and the tax account,
Which is good.
the tax account's the only one that's, the general checking is not a interest bearing, but the tax one is, so I just held it till this month.
Keep as much in there as you can.
I tried. Yes.
I move to transfer 20,000 out of the tax account balance in addition to the 50 that we had
Approved last month.
approved last month.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to transfer $20,000 out of the tax savings account in addition to the $50,000 that was approved last month. Any discussion? Ms. Bo.
Dave?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
And I need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll move to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
Second. Gotcha.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the treasurer's report as presented. Any discussion? Vote.
Dave?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
And just as a side note, this time of year, end of the month, we always settle with the county. There'll be a check on your list for the county's portion of the dog tax. But that's not completed till November, but we always have to settle once now and once in the fall. So and I took care of that.
Okay. All right, now the checks.
How many checks do you want?
So 16,319 to $16,386.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
That would be from your last board meeting, right?
So this is on the report that's labeled number 8. And it would be the checks starting with April the 8th, which is the 16,319, which is our payroll checks. And then just one item that I want to note, just for transparency. So Dave has a separate expense check for work, for his equipment that we rented during the snow times. So, and that is under, that's check number 16,360.
What one?
16,360, and it was for $260. I had 4 hours, I charged $65 an hour, and I manned it, and I blew snow and
Okay.
pushed it.
During the big storm.
Okay, all right.
And I think I told you last month that Rodney ran the town tractor and pushed snow back around the stop signs. We hired Dennis Stretz for pushing back on the north end of the township and Radetsky in the south end of the township. We had, those were approved last
You
month.
hired Nikolai, not Stretz.
Pardon me?
It was Nikolai, not Stretz, wasn't it?
No.
No.
No?
Nicolai's name was in last month.
I think it said,
Nikolai.
I think it said Nikolai.
Mm-hmm. We hired Radetsky and we hired Stretz.
Right.
Nikolai might have been something different, but we did not pay them for roads.
Because it was about the same amount at the same time. That's why.
Yeah, we didn't pay Nikolai for roads.
There's a Nikolai Void.
We had a Nikolai check that we wrote that we voided. It was from
Yeah.
a project from last summer that we processed, and then we voided the check because we were waiting to hear back from them.
Okay.
Check 16,351, 2 and 3.
16,319 through 16,386, correct?
Yeah, there were 3 void checks, the 3 that Kevin mentioned. And those won't show up on here because I voided them and then reissued them.
You need that as a motion?
We have no electronic transfers.
No, I paid those in March.
Okay, motion to approve checks 16,319 to 16,386.
16,319, you said?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Sorry, I interrupted.
With knowledge of the 3 checks approved?
Yes.
That sequence?
Yeah. I'll put that in here.
Okay, there's a motion to approve checks 16,319.
I need a second.
Second.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to approve checks 16,319 through 16,386.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay.
All right, Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Russ, Carolyn. Okay, I'll be really brief on the town website. I've just had some email communication with several people on the website, and I've also I've talked with the website company the Towns Association is using, and so I just would like your blessing. I don't know that I need a approval to move forward with developing the website as long as I stay within the budget. So I don't know if anybody has any comments or concerns, but I could not even get the agendas posted today and the minute meetings from March. So my agendas did not get posted, and I sent those out on Friday or Saturday, and they still weren't posted
Yeah,
before
and
this
it's gotta
meeting.
change.
And I've tried, I can go in and edit like comments, like, but I can't add documents. So I might, just my hands are tied in it, so I would like to move forward with developing it as long as we stay within the budget. Unless you guys have any concerns about that.
Annual meeting date?
So annual meeting date is next Tuesday, the 16th at,
6:30.
15th? The 16th.
16th.
At what time? 6:30?
Isn't that 6 o'clock?
Oh, boy, you got me.
It's 6, I think it's 6 p.m.
6.
Because it's a special meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next item is board and review and open book. So each of you would have gotten a notice from James Kurzweil in your packet of the dates. And one thing that I did not get a chance to do was to look on the Department of Revenue's website to see who's certified for this. I know that I'm certified for it. So did any of the rest of you take the certification?
It's good for 2 years, right?
I think it's good for 2 years, but I'll have to look.
I think we probably ran out.
So I can go on.
I was renewed last year.
Okay, I can go on the Department of Revenue's website and see which affidavits were uploaded last year and see who's current and who's not, but, that's something we're going to have to get done, well, we have until the end of May, so.
You only need one, right?
Right, that, you
Are
only
you
need one.
certified?
I don't think so.
I have to check Gary's and see when his runs out.
Kevin and I took it, I think, 2 years ago.
Russ,
Okay,
are
I'll
you
check.
So we'll be running out if it's only good for 2 years.
Russ, are you certified? Russ? Are you? No.
Yeah, it's just online, isn't it?
Huh?
Do that online?
You can.
No, we actually have a video that's 2 hours long. You can take it home, watch it, and then you fill out a little test, and you, basically, the answers are in the book, so it's a pretty easy process to, it's an open book test, yes.
Trick question.
Don't get too many other
Easy.
books.
Get on the road, 8.
Okay, here it is, annual meeting is at 6 o'clock.
Okay, so we go on down through the other, the zoning things. And through 15, so we'll go to new business, bid request to post, and Dave just did that. So correspondence,
Okay, let's see, this is brief. You had all the CSMs in your packet. I think I sent out after multiple attempts today. We're having some technical issues in our office, but after multiple attempts, I got out the letter that I received from the Department of Justice, addressed to Clarence Ortel with a copy to myself. And so I gave everybody a copy of that letter. That's in your packet. There's a copy of the statewide tornado drill that is for this week. That's in your packet, and Rodney also has a copy of that. There was a zoning permit issued to Timothy and Lindsay Rasmussen. And then I did get just in the mail today the notice for the public hearing, which I read that at the earlier meeting. So I can scan that in and send you guys a copy of that. And then the only other correspondence that came to the board was that letter that I presented to the Plan Commission at the earlier meeting from the Peters, just with their concerns. But you guys did get a letter from them, as well as the Plan Commission got a letter from them.
okay. Motion to adjourn.
Well, don't we have to sign these Sebastian ones?
No, that's next month.
Next month, they didn't do them.
They weren't at the meeting.
They didn't do any of those three.
Breland wasn't here to present any of them. Nothing.
Or Wenzel.
Okay, so before we adjourn, we do need to sign this resolution that I have to send back to the county. So, I guess I can't.
That's what I was looking for.
Alrighty.
The meeting, yes. I went through everything.
So down here it says town board here. And so we have to approve or deny. So,
We approved it.
we approved it. And then I'll just put in comments what the recommendation is. Yeah.
You need to put down with the motion. Instead, write that in.
While we're waiting, do you have all the letters that were given to the plan commission? I'd like to have all those back.
Do I have them?
And who has them?
I can check with Josh.
We don't have them.
I need them to kind of help me with some of my notes. But you're welcome to, you're welcome, if I can make copies of these and get them back to you, would that be okay?
That's.
Yeah.
I've worked a long time on
I
that.
suppose we all
I
know
looked
that.
him in the eye and I said, you will read my entire thing, right? I timed myself on how long it would take me to read it. It took me 10 minutes to read it.
Oh.
I was up there for 3 and he claimed that he read it all. And mine wasn't on sentimental, I went through the contracts. And I feel terrible that I even wasted my time.
What did he, I didn't hear what all you said, Honey.
I'm just saying that I went through a lot of time to put that information in 6 pages. I timed myself to how it would take to read it. It was 10 minutes for me to read it. I had 3 minutes up there to just sum it. There's no way he could have read my entire thing. And I looked him in the eye and said, you're gonna read my entire document, right? And he said, yes. So with all the documentation I gave him, I disappointed that it was not in consideration. And mine wasn't just all feeling because I went through the documentation.
Are you talking about the Jowski?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, I think that's.
Oh, so did you not just get up and continue on? Weren't you?
I handed it to him and I said, he said that they would take all the ones I handed to him. And I said, well, that means you will read my entire document, and he said yes. But it's done and over with, it's just very frustrating, and I won't waste my time.
Is this meeting over?
We have to have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn? Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Motion, we're out of here.
I think you guys made a lot of people happy with this trucks to the north in this township. And it's wear and tear on our road. We're the only county who has a rural road that we're paying for them trucks to go in and on.
I mean, there's pits all over, but.
But they're on county.
They're on county.
They're on county roads.
Yeah.
We're paying for this.
This, yes.
And how to police it, that's the other part.
Oh, I already got the cameras that take pictures of what's in the truck, license plates, and that guy says you call me. But we need to put a road limit on it and make a fine that they have to pay. We need to make enough money to pay for the road.
That was the reason for my question, is because sometimes these guys, he doesn't have enough trucks to do some of these projects, so he'll subcontract to, Nicolay, Randall, whatever.
That's all county. We don't have an officer, we don't have a weighing device.
But we do when we're walking. We walk down the middle of the road, it's our road, it's not their road.
No, I mean, weigh the truck.
Weigh the trucks.
They can't come this way.
That's a Gary.
Yep. You want to swear at me?
I do, because I'm not coming in tomorrow.
Because what they're doing now is they're hauling concrete to that place. And what they do is they shovel it up 3 feet high so you can't see it. That's how we're getting all that concrete that you
And then
mentioned.
one thing I do want to ask you
consider
right
all that
now
concrete.
being, crushed.
They're hauling it in the dump truck.
Something that was
Yeah, you can't see it
stressful,
because
so
they just put it
did you
there.
say the tire thing was
Yeah, they
wrong?
got it, they're not supposed to haul it.
Which is another recommendation, but there's no word on that, anything brought up.
Okay, I will not start.
You could do it. Short
Well, then
amount.
I'll go do that.
They must be shut down.
You'll get corrections.
They were running two full trucks on
All
March
my
twenty-second.
people,
They were supposed
I mean,
to-
she has emails everything on Friday. and I'll give her a
Yeah.
call.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, well, then she'd have to change for.
Good luck with county limits.
Okay, so,
Huh?
She has to send everything.
I would like to know who we call,
Right.
besides the link with our.
Minutes and.
Did you miss
We
it?
call one.
Did we call the sheriff, Grandma County Sheriff?
We had all weekend to look at it, which I.
261-1200.
Checks if I
Huh?
had questions.
261-1200 is emergency call.
Our only,
Non-emergency.
our only other guy is, carrying illegal loads. He'll take care
Well,
of
I would assume it's the, I would assume it's the gravel pits, because I already signed.
you guys.
That is.
it. But it's just our only option is wet
Well, no, I know, I
Said he's gonna
just
charge
said there was a.
Yeah.
I'm not.
If they're carrying illegal dogs,
They
you'll just
want to
use
go
them.
tax.
Yeah, you got it.
But you could do just payroll.
No, don't worry about it. Okay. Okay, well, Gary, you have to raise your right hand and just say that.
Unless you have one.
Okay, put your glasses on.
Basically.
Come and just sign no,
Hey,
so they
Did
can
you
take
say
it.
that number was Carol, 26192?
Oh, no.
261?
261.
I have friends that have been elected to the office of town board supervisor, have not yet entered upon the duties thereof. Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Carol, notice how you did not answer my question. Do you notice how you did not answer my question? Board members, please come get your checks.
What's going on? Just does what